What's up, guys? Iceman here. Welcome to the Triassic Iceman YouTube channel. Appreciate you all for coming by and like this video if you will. Subscribe to the page and stomp on that bell so you're notified next time I post a video. So I just got done watching snippets from an interview of the upcoming director of Godzilla Minus 2, who of course directed Minus 1. And what is coming for the Godzilla fan base is insane. All right. I was watching this interview and it just touched on so many notes that harken back to an earlier time of when I think movies were good. Let me know, what was the last good movie you've seen in the theaters? All right. To be honest with you guys, as much as it pains me to say it, you remember Batman, The Dark Knight, and The Dark Knight Rises? Those two, I really like those films. I have those on Blu-ray back here. I just feel like those were almost an end of an era of good films. Maybe there were a couple others sprinkled somewhere from then to now. But I'm curious, what do you think are some of the better films released in modern times, if there are any? Let me know in the comments below. But the director of Godzilla Minus 2, wow, he was going on about how in movies, when they're emotional or whatever, what the audience is really doing when, say, you get emotional while watching a movie, watching a scene, watching character development, watching something happen to the character or the world in the movie. The reason that pulls us in an emotional sort of sense isn't because of what's happening to the person we're watching, but it's because of how we relate to that. You know, it's like we sort of imagine it being us. Or we use something in our lives, something that's happening in our lives, and imagining it being fulfilled how it is in the film. Like, say there's some girl you like or whatever in real life. All of a sudden you see some love story play out in the film, and the reason that probably makes you emotional is because you're imagining yourself in that position and that girl that you like in real life being the chick in the film, who at the end maybe the guy gets, or they separate in some dramatic way. I don't know. But it's really interesting, and I just can't help but wonder what could be in store for Godzilla Minus 2, because what I am so tired of is all the BS we've had in recent times with the MonsterVerse Godzillas, where the characters are kind of an afterthought, and honestly, they're garbage, right? Are there any like memorable characters or character arcs in recent Godzilla MonsterVerse films? I don't really think so. They were leaning way too heavily on the monsters, to my understanding, and not really on the characters. So the characters were kind of garbage, is the problem that I'm seeing here. But with Godzilla Minus 2, this director is aware of this reality. All right, so he's going to bring us he's going to make a good movie with characters, and maybe the world will be at stake. Like, I remember, maybe contrary to my previous point, when I was in the theaters watching King of the Monsters, right, in 2019, it was actually almost a little emotional just seeing Ghidorah arise from the ice, right? It was like, wow, like in that sense, I was putting myself in the position of the world, imagining if this abominable Hydra were to actually come from like Antarctica or something, and just imagining the peril that it could cause on a mass scale to everyone witnessing it, right? Like, wow, this thing is not gonna lose. This thing is going to change our world forever. And then seeing Godzilla lose in a fight to it, it like brings you to the edge of your seat when you're thinking everything's at stake here. and Ghidorah is going to ultimately overcome this frickin' planet and probably kill all of humanity, right? Or do something with them, I don't know, but it was kind of emotional. So I imagine in -2, if the director can get this right, if he can integrate in this film, in this Godzilla film, where Godzilla is probably going to be an evil force of nature, like what he was in -1, if he can focus on the characters, the character development, the perspective from the characters, maybe a love story, this and that, I don't know, while at the same time making this amazing storyline with Godzilla, this could be the best Godzilla film we have seen in a long time. In fact, this could be the best Godzilla ever. All right, because this guy, he knows it. I mean, he's from freaking Toho, you know what I'm saying? The original creators of Godzilla. This guy knows how to make a movie. It's gonna be so good. Give me a hell yeah in the comments below if you guys are with me on that. And like this video. I'm gonna be informing you guys on other news for Godzilla as it comes up. But before you go, another thing that's really important that this director brought up in this interview I was watching. He was talking about how visual effects have sort of become so saturated in movies these days that people aren't really going to see movies for them anymore. You know, like we see visual effects everywhere, even with all the AI garbage on the internet. Like we can make visual effects just at our homes, on our little laptops, or even on our cell phones, you know? Just type these prompts into some AI and boom, you got some cool, pretty realistic visual effects. Like they're not bringing people to the theaters anymore. You know, it's sort of like their golden age is over, which is why he's trying to focus now on making a good film with people and characters and maybe not focus so much on the visual effects. Now the visual effects are still going to be there, but he's making a point of how people are wanting something more real again. They're wanting something sort of like how the digital world took over the analog world. He mentioned, and even in this interview, they had a vinyl record playing, right? Like an old vinyl record that actually gives you analog sound. It's actually a fuller spectrum of sound, one of which you can't reproduce with digital effects. All right, digital effects are always just a sample in a bitrate form of the original audio, which with a pin, a needle, and the record, it actually makes the sound waves, all right? So all the digital stuff after that are just samples of that. And it can never really replicate what the analog stuff does. Like back in the day in the Godzilla stuff, he was talking about how there used to be, you know, people in suits and stuff and all the visual effects they do with that. And it just makes me wonder, I think they're gonna have some practical effects, like a lot of practical effects in Godzilla -2. They're going to integrate some digital stuff in it as well. Like so the perfect hybrid of this stuff, I think, the perfect mesh of the two is Jurassic Park. All right, watch Jurassic Park. They have the animatronic dinosaurs. They spend a ton of money on it. The original Jurassic Park and even the Lost World Jurassic Park. They also had practical effects and they had a lot of CGI as well, right? They mixed them together. This is when it was all, they were pioneers of this movement. So I think we might have the Jurassic Park of Godzillas coming up here in Godzilla -2, because these people now in Toho and this guy who directed Godzilla -1, they know that we're hungry for something more real, more tangible, and they might try to blend the digital and the analog and the CGI and the practical effects and give us the best Godzilla film ever. So what are your thoughts on that? Are you hopeful for Godzilla -2? I mean, what enemies do you think they should introduce in this? Should there be Destroyer, Ghidorah, Gigan? I mean, should there be anything? Should there be Rodan, Mothra? I don't know. They could use any of them. I think they should keep it slow, like how the Godzilla films were back in the day. Just start introducing one new Titan at a time and really build up the whole universe from there. But anyway, like this video if you guys will, subscribe to the page, and I'll see you all tomorrow.